Toilets here in Germany are cold, often placed within the bathroom and require you to try to clean yourself with some kind of paper, if it's available at all. Japanese toilet seats are the work of geniuses. Whoever invented them should get a Nobel Prize. They are heated and have integrated bidet functionality. This means 1, you don't have to be afraid of sitting down in winter anymore, and 2, your behind will be water cleaned, which is much more hygienic than using paper. Some also have a dryer to take care of the wetness, while others play music to make sure nobody can hear any private noises. From that, you already understood, I've become a toilet snob. Japan has spoiled me, and being back in Europe, I feel like a caveman whenever I visit a bathroom. Of course, I could accept my fate and get used to the discomfort of non-Japanese toilets again. Or I could spend an amount of money that would bankrupt an empire and buy a Japanese-style toilet seat for myself here in Europe. Guess which one I did. In Japan, I used to travel a lot by myself. While living in Nagano, I usually would visit Tokyo around once per week. I did that either for teaching and being taught martial arts, visiting friends, or the office. Because while I was living in Nagano, I was working an IT job for a company in Tokyo. And if you think that sounds nice, maybe you should get into IT as well. For example, through a coding bootcamp such as the immersive course by Code Chrysalis, who is also the sponsor of this video. This coding bootcamp happens over the course of 3 months in person in Tokyo, Japan. If you already know a bit of programming, it is the perfect fit for you. It will extend on your existing knowledge and give you all the tools for a smooth start into your life as a software engineering professional. Once you have finished the course, they will also assist you with lifetime career support, which, in my opinion, is incredibly valuable. The interview deadline is February 9th, and if you use the code JapaneseJourney15, you will get 15% off on the tuition. You can find the bootcamp at bit.ly/JapaneseJourneyCodeChrysalis and also linked in the description. So there I was, alone in Tokyo. What should I do? Meet friends? That's possible sometimes, but often they are busy. Going out and exploring, visiting bars and restaurants on my own? Before moving to Japan, I hadn't done this even once in my life. But I did then. And again, and again. So often that it has become normal for me now. So normal that it surprises me when I try to book a hotel and the booking website's default selection is 2 adults instead of 1. It's not something that's uncomfortable that I do nonetheless. It has become the norm. Japanese are on time most of the time. That means if you meet a friend at 3 p.m, you will most likely be at the meeting point at 2:55. Some appointments even require you to be 10 to 15 minutes early so that you can set up and all that in order to then start on time. It's way better to apologize for being early than for being late. Being back home and not having let go of this habit means I'm now always waiting. Turns out, contrary to popular belief, Germans are not punctual at all, especially the trains. Delayed 1/3 of the time, an absolute nightmare. I think I'm a relatively punctual person for the first time in my life now, and being too late feels like an inexcusable offense to the people waiting, but it also feels like nobody else is on time ever. The grass on the other side of the road is always greener. I wouldn't say that has always been how I felt, but what Japan has certainly given me is more appreciation for my home country, Germany. Being away for so long, especially during the Corona pandemic, really made me appreciate the many things I liked and missed about my country. Be it proper bread, butter, pretzels and cheese, or people that actually dare going off script while doing customer service. Now that I've moved back here in April of last year, I can say that I think it will be the same for Japan. While I conscientiously decided to leave the country and haven't been back since, I feel like I will be able to appreciate it on a whole new level once I do so in summer this year. However it will be, I'm looking forward to it. Another thing I've realized in Japan is that there are a lot of people that do ordinary things repeatedly over a long period of time, and that's fine. I always felt like hunting for greatness is what I needed to do. A great business idea, a great amount of money, becoming famous on YouTube. And from that last point you can already tell the last years have been a humbling experience. And over the years, seeing people doing the same thing with the same devotion, day in and day out, has slowly made me appreciate being persistent and taking my time more. Maybe I've also started to grow up, but probably not. I'll never do. At least that's what my wife says. In Japan, there's something called an on, which can be translated both as favor but also as obligation. You did me a favor, so I am obliged to you. It's a crucial social concept I still haven't fully grasped. For example, your parents raised you, so you are obliged to them. And you pay back your debt by raising your own children properly, who then in turn are obliged to you. This idea was foreign to me. My motivation to raise my children properly is mostly intrinsic and because I want them to be happy and fulfilled. This concept could also explain why things like holding open the door are less common in Japan, because they don't want to burden strangers with being obliged to them. But maybe not. What do I know? What I do know is that realizations like this made me understand that some things I took for granted and thought were basically human are actually products of culture. In Japan, people work hard, and by hard they mean a lot. I started working for a Japanese company in January 2018. I was the one to always leave on time, after 8 hours of work. I wanted to avoid the rush hour, so I made sure to be in the office by 7 a.m. and left at 4 p.m. Some of my team members came way later, around 10 a.m. Accordingly then, they stayed until 7. Over time, I felt more and more uncomfortable to leave when my team was still working. So I slowly started to come to work at 7 a.m. but left at 5, 5:30, 6. In a similar manner, it seems to me the group dynamics in Japan can easily spiral towards working too much. Paid days off were also not too many. In my case, 10 days a year after half a year at the company, plus national holidays. I used almost all of them to visit my family back in Germany. Going to a different country? Out of the question. There's also no legal sick leave in Japan, so when I was sick, I had to use my paid leaves. This has left scars, maybe you can still see them. And I'm still careful when taking holidays, with the subconscious understanding that I should save some for emergencies. Outside of business trips, I've also still not visited another country. I think it has been 7.5 years. What I also started doing, thanks to living in Japan, is I take off my shoes before I enter my apartment. I say "Tadaima" whenever I enter my apartment. I wash my hands whenever I have entered my apartment. I also get wildly irritated by strong perfume. The average German is a complainer. On the scale from complaining all the time to being excited all the time, they are definitely more on the "it's never been this bad" side of things. Japanese, on the other hand, have a tendency to accept things as they are. Shoganai, nothing you can do about it. While they are not excited about everything all the time, I would say they are much more in the neutral area of the scale. That's also how I feel. Complaining doesn't change anything, action does. So in general, I think I don't complain a lot anymore. Except about those goddamn German trains, they are just never on time.